back here?
Everybody follow me.
It's legendary.
Just like boom.
Unbelievable.
How many places are you going to go and see a green horse?
We are having a blast.
Double no mustard ketchup.
This is the way we do it.
Delicious.
I think it's going to work out.
Welcome to this special edition of the Tar Heel Traveler, featuring North Carolina sports stories, many of them dramatic but not well known. And yet we begin with one of the most well-known sports figures of all time, and the impact he made in Fayetteville.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT, Babe Ruth.
Kids loved him, adults loved him, was the most known figure in the world in the 1920s.
But in 1914, George Herman Ruth was a 19-year-old kid from Baltimore. He just signed with a minor league ball team that in early March traveled to Fayetteville for a game.
When he was here, it was the first time he'd ever been out of the state of Maryland.
George and the team stayed at the Prince Charles.
So naive, he spent his free time here riding up and down on the elevator in the hotel.
He also had a habit of trailing the team owner.
He didn't know what to do with himself when they weren't playing, so he followed him around, and one of the players said, "There goes the owner's new baby."
The name stuck.
Got his nickname, the Babe, while he was here.
And then came the game at the old Cape Fear Fairgrounds. The Babe stepped into the batter's box and swung for the bleachers.
Supposedly the longest home run anybody here had ever seen.
135 yards out of the park. Babe Ruth's first professional home run.
Still to this day, people say it's the furthest one ever, like in the state.
A sign of home runs to come.
He hit more home runs by himself than most teams combined. He changed the way the game is played and really turned it into our national pastime.
Babe Ruth retired from baseball in 1935 with pitching, hitting, and home run records, and with a name earned in Fayetteville that today remains one of the most famous in American sports.
The only real game, I think, in the world, baseball.
A high school basketball game played here in Harnett County at Campbell University, a game that would go down in history.
It was February 29th, 1964.
Anger High School and Boone Trail High School.
Why was it played here at Campbell?
At the time, the biggest gym.
How big a game was it?
It was big, really big.
Yeah, it was the county championship.
It was a packed house.
In fact, people were along the baselines and so forth, couldn't find a seat.
There were so many people along the sideline, you actually had to turn sideways to put the ball in bounds.
Was it a close game?
Oh yes, it was very close all the way through.
What was your role in the game?
Cheerleader.
Nobody fouled out, no injuries, no substitutes.
Why didn't you use any substitutes?
Well, you know, most of them didn't want to go in, probably.
Did you want to go into the game?
Maybe at first, but toward the end, I don't think anybody wanted to do anything that might change something.
At the end of regulation, it was 46-46.
I think there were not that many overtimes that actually had scoring involved in it.
Whoever got the ball held it and tried for the last shot.
Back then, of course, there was no shot clock.
No.
So you could hold the ball as long as you wanted.
Yes.
What did you think as these overtimes kept going on and on?
Will it ever end?
Our high school coach told me that they had actually called Chapel Hill and asked, if we don't finish before midnight, can we go on and finish the game?
They were told no, they couldn't play on Sunday.
No, you do not play high school athletics on Sunday in the state of North Carolina.
Fortunately, the game ended right before midnight.
The game came down to the 13th overtime. They got the tip and got a layup.
Stewart was fouled, converted 2 free throws to make it 56-52.
They made a shot at the end, but they were 4 down.
And that's when the buzzer sounded, the game ended. And so after 13 overtimes, Boone Trail had prevailed 56-54.
What did you think when you won?
Well, we were excited. We was glad the game was over, too.
Did you feel a sense of relief?
Oh yes, we were thrilled to death.
Well, for them it was probably the game of a lifetime. For us, it was the loss of a lifetime.
Is it the longest high school basketball game in history?
As far as I know, it still stands.
It's a record that I don't think will ever be broken.
Regardless of who carried the big trophy home, we were all ultimately the winners because of relationships that we have developed over the years.
I think we've had 3 reunions associated with it, brought it back together.
It's really a big part of our history and our honor and our duty to keep its memory alive.
13 overtimes, 29 innings. A man from Charlotte played professional minor league baseball and remembers one long, long night at the ball field in 1966.
It was a night just like any other night. It was hot, sultry, and typical Florida night.
It was the St. Petersburg Cardinals against the Miami Marlins.
Game started at 7:30.
Bob Taylor grew up in Charlotte.
I'd always wanted to play professional baseball. That was my dream.
He played for the Cards,
a farm team of the St. Louis Cardinals, of course.
Sparky Anderson managed the team. The Sparky Anderson, future Major League Hall of Famer.
Greatest guy in the world. I mean, he just loved to win. We scored first, and then things started to get wacky.
The Marlins tied the game with a 2-run home run.
That's not so unusual, except that the home run was by a pinch hitter, and the pinch hitter was a pitcher.
Both teams scored in the 11th.
Nobody scored after that for 18 innings. A whole string of zeros.
How did you do during the game?
You had to ask that, right?
He went to bat 13 times and went 1 for 13.
Concession stands were started to serve free hot dogs and free food. They were trying to get rid of the stuff.
And still the game went on. 25, 26 innings.
When it got to 27, of all things, they decided to have a picture-taking ceremony
to record the historic moment.
But this was the longest game then by going into the 28th.
It ended in the 29th. At 2:30 in the morning.
The headline says longest game ever played, and we lost it.
The Cardinals lost, but the Marlins had a 5-hour drive home and a doubleheader later that day.
We thought that was great.
It remains the longest professional baseball game ever played in one night.
To have played that game, being managed by Sparky Anderson, to realize that I'm one of 6 players in the whole history of baseball who has ever batted 13 or more times in a ball game. I mean, that's a thrill for me. I'd do it all again.
All 29 innings.
29 innings again.
Games and moments that go down in history, such as the moment known simply as the catch. A man from Jacksonville won't forget it. His brother made it, made the grab, the catch. Where did you and your brother grow up?
Grew up in Charlotte.
Dwight and Jeff. Dwight, 6 years older. Jeff, now living in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Was he a natural athlete?
Amazing athlete.
Dwight Clark played football at Clemson.
Bill Walsh, the coach of the 49ers, had gone to Clemson to see Steve Fuller.
Fuller was the Clemson quarterback.
Fuller needed somebody to throw to, so he asked Dwight to go out with him. So Bill Walsh is looking at Steve Fuller.
But begins to look more at Dwight Clark.
And he drafted him in the 10th round, which they don't even have 10 rounds now.
It was 1979, and Dwight was headed to the San Francisco 49ers, the NFL.
You just couldn't believe it. He caught a handful of passes the first year. The next year, he caught a whole lot, and then it was on.
It was on to the NFC Championship game, January 1982, San Francisco versus Dallas. Did that come down to the last minute?
Literally 58 seconds left in the game.
San Francisco has the ball, 3rd down. Sprint right option.
The only time they had ever worked on that play was in the preseason, and it was just Joe and Dwight. Not one pass was right. He either threw it too low or over him.
Joe Montana scrambles, looks, throws. Dwight leaps.
He was in the air. He was really in the air.
The ball in his hands.
And he always says he had a double catch. He caught it and then brought it and lost it, brought it down and caught it again.
Throwing in the end zone.
Last second, NFC Championship, the game in the balance that will send you to your first Super Bowl.
One of the most memorable moments in NFL history.
Certainly.
The 49ers went on to win the Super Bowl that year, won it again 3 years later. Then, after the 1987 season, Dwight retired.
He went into the front office.
And during his time as a team executive, the 49ers won 3 more Super Bowls.
It's unique to put 5 Super Bowl rings on your hand.
Dwight's hand.
That was the first thing, was he could not open a pack of sugar to put in his coffee.
ALS, no cure.
He used to say, give me something I can fight. I can't fight this. He was 61 when he passed away in June.
2018.
He loved getting in the middle of life.
Dwight Clark from Charlotte, who grabbed life.
He was just an amazing guy, just an amazing guy.
It's a madhouse at Candlestick.
Order Tar Heel Traveler books at thetarheeltraveler.com. Books that celebrate the state. Copies autographed and personalized at thetarheeltraveler.com. Welcome back to this special sports edition of the Tar Heel Traveler, Thrills and Agonies, featuring remarkable North Carolina sports stories, including comeback wins from dazzling Globetrotters.
And you just get bored and you just start working on stuff.
Ant Atkinson just keeps rolling along. He's a Harlem Globetrotter, Wilson native, and Barton College hero.
It's amazing. I still get goosebumps from it. I still think we're going to lose every time I look at it. Now I'm like, okay, I was in this. We don't lose. So.
Barton was losing big in the 2007 Division II championship.
And they're passing out their T-shirts. They're passing out the championship hats. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, we still got some time left on the game. It's not over,
The game looked over with just 40 seconds left.
Spin move, Henderson, let him go by.
They kind of just let me go past them. I was like, these guys not even playing defense no more.
Barton down by 5, less than 30 to go. Talk about a long shot.
Pull up, pop, book it.
And then they lackadaisically threw the ball in like they were just giving up.
23 for Atkinson. And he steals the ball.
Barton is suddenly down by just 1, and Ant Atkinson has reversed the odds.
The drive, reverse. Oh, what a play!
Time for one last play, the old back tip play.
And we never, ever did it in the game successfully. We always practice it, and it's a drill that everybody hated.
They didn't hate it anymore.
4 seconds left. Melvick stolen away. He's got time. Atkinson, layup. Good!
I mean, you saw my reaction. I just started running everywhere. I didn't know what to think. I was on top of the world.
He'd scored 10 points in 39 seconds to win the championship. Have those last few seconds of that game changed your life?
Definitely, because I honestly think if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here.
Here with the Harlem Globetrotters, trotting the globe and making people smile.
And that's what I did in college, entertain people with basketball. But now I just do it in a more crazy type of way.
November 29th, 1980, Western Carolina University, Reed Gym, an early season basketball game that helped change the game, that made college basketball history.
Hey, this is a great way for a lot of publicity things to happen.
A chance for the first official three-point shot to happen. This was a pilot program?
Well, it was an experimental the first year.
A handful of college conferences agreed to try it. That night, 2 other eligible teams had a game at 7:30.
We knew something was kind of special because we started the game at 7 o'clock.
This will give us a 30-minute jump, move it to 7 o'clock.
Western Carolina University versus Middle Tennessee State.
Middle Tennessee State was ranked in the country.
And Western Carolina, how good was your team that season?
We were awful good.
The game begins.
And everybody was just sort of waiting for it to happen.
The three-point shot.
There were 2 shots taken earlier in the game and missed.
Coach wanted an opportunity for one of us to have that shot, so he called a timeout, designed a special play.
The game resumes.
I looked up and Ronnie was wide open, and I just threw the pass to him.
Wide open.
Ronnie Carr.
So I just rose up, took the shot.
From 23 feet out.
And he got his shot off, and it was nothing but net.
And the rest is history.
The first official three-pointer in college basketball history.
Yeah, they stopped the game, recorded the time.
And continued the game. And Western Carolina won the game.
And afterwards, we kind of like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool what you did, man.
We didn't understand the historical relevance of that shot.
You had no idea that 20, 25 years later, 30 years later, that the three-point field goal would be such a big thing.
And it started here, in this gym, at that spot. Do you feel that moment in history has been lost?
Yeah, it's been lost.
To keep that story alive, it has to be brought to back to its fullness.
You got Duke, you got Carolina, well, you got Western Carolina. Oh yeah, my guy hit the first three-pointer in NCAA history.
We made history. It was always we made history.
I was known as a shooter.
Ronnie Carr. Were you considered one of the best players in the country at that time?
Yes, I was.
He attended a basketball camp in the summer of 1982.
When I was being prepared to go to the NBA.
He was in Chapel Hill, driving to dinner.
All I remember was seeing just a big flash of light come into my driver's side.
A police cruiser smashed into Ronnie's car.
Out of his jurisdiction.
The officer was not hurt, but Ronnie was. How close to death were you?
Very close.
His basketball career was over. We're talking really about two moments that impacted your life, the three-point shot and the wreck.
It changed my life. It changed my life for the better. It has allowed me opportunities to work with kids and tell people my story.
To tell them about the shot he took and the shot he took.
And I've learned to give back based on what has happened to me.
Do you think that first three-point shot was really a little more than just about basketball?
Scott, that overwhelmed me when you said that, because it was. A lot of people attempted that shot, but they didn't make that shot.
An athlete not soon forgotten is one who left his mark behind the wheel. NASCAR's number 3, Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, a native son who left behind a grieving mother.
Do you have children?
Dale's mother.
The hardest thing you'll ever do is lose one.
Dale Earnhardt grew up in a Kannapolis neighborhood with streets named after cars. This is the house he grew up in, with the garage where his dad worked on race cars. Nearby is Dale Earnhardt Plaza and the statue.
He's in his signature Wrangler jeans and Justin boots with his glasses in his pocket, and that's how the folks here in Kannapolis remembered him.
It looks just like him. He could take a car and do things nobody else ever could.
God's gift to NASCAR.
There are a lot of little nuances that a visitor sort of passing through may not pick up. For instance, the benches are in groups of 3s around the plaza, which is shaped like an oval to mimic a racetrack. You'll take 7 steps down into the plaza. He won 7 championships.
The 3-car down. Oh! Big trouble. Big wreck behind them.
February 2001.
See, when they didn't go back to the car, they showed it, and then they didn't go back to it, I knew something was wrong.
I just hope Dale was okay. I guess he's all right, isn't he?
I mean, that must have been hard to grasp.
You'll never know.
The Dale Trail honors his memory, never forgotten. You taught me to never give up. God bless Dale.
There's no comparison to losing a child. It's like losing part of yourself.
Welcome back to this special sports edition of the Tar Heel Traveler. To the horse track we go, one of the greatest horses of all time. From the Jackson area of Northampton County, Sir Archie.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
The 2008 Kentucky Derby. And no, Sir Archie did not run this race. No, Sir Archie was a horse born back in 1805 in Virginia, and early on was not much of a racehorse at all. He lost his first 3 races, but then won 4 of the next 5.
He was a fairly large horse and had excellent hindquarters and front quarters. That's where he got his strength from.
He won many more races, including his last.
He won by such a wide margin that he walked across the finish line.
Sir Archie's short career was over.
And no one wanted to bet against him. If the horse walks across the finish line, no, they're not going to race against him anymore.
Sir Archie's influence on racing, however, was just getting started.
William Amos won him in a card game with his previous owner.
William Amos lived here on this plantation in Northampton County. Sir Archie sired dozens of horse racing champions, including Seabiscuit and Secretariat.
The Secretariat is all alone. It's Seattle Slew.
In fact, of the 11 horses to win racing's Triple Crown, 10 of them can be traced to Sir Archie.
One of the foundation sires of American racehorses.
Back to the 2008 Kentucky Derby. Every one of the horses, all 20 of them, were descended from Sir Archie. Sir Archie died in 1833 and is said to be buried somewhere on this land near Jackson.
And he was buried with silver horseshoes on.
That is the legend, and people have searched for the silver horseshoes.
I doubt the story myself because I wouldn't bury a horse with silver horseshoes on. Would you?
Well, he was North Carolina's greatest horse, who spawned some of history's greatest champions.
Secretariat's on the inside. By ahead.
Campbell University has 3,000 undergrads at its campus here in Bowie's Creek. It also has Gaylord and Gladys.
It was great. It was really fun. We loved doing the skits.
Craig was Gaylord in the early 90s.
And it was a way to interact with people.
Angie was Gladys back then.
It was just really incredible to be a part of it.
A part of that 1992 men's basketball run.
We ended up won the Big South tournament, which was, phenomenal in itself.
Their biggest day in college basketball.
The Campbell Fighting Camels had qualified for the NCAA tournament for the first time in school history.
We could not be disappointed in our team if they hadn't scored a point. We were just so excited for them to be there.
And Gaylord and Gladys were there.
And their goal, he said, is to hang around like a loose tooth.
Underdog Campbell versus Powerhouse Duke in the first round.
Campbell mania running rampant in Bowie's Creek. And let's take a look at the starting lineups.
And that was back in, some of the historic times with Christian Laettner and Grant Hill.
Bring on the Bulls next.
What was the atmosphere like?
Oh, incredible.
Spinks puts up a three.
It was just really incredible to be a part of it.
This is Gaylord, the team mascot. Gaylord, what do you think of the Duke Blue Devils? Oh, Gaylord, that's no way to act.
Campbell played well.
Mocknick for three. Oh, yes, what a stroke.
But not well enough. And yet the team and the Camels had great chemistry.
We must have.
Yeah, I think so.
Craig and Angie got married, although Gaylord and Gladys separated. What happened to Gladys after you graduated?
She just disappeared.
Gaylord became the school's only mascot. Gladys was gone. She disappeared for 25 years?
She disappeared for 25 years.
Until recently, when the university brought her back. Gaylord and Gladys together again. And together, they brought Craig and Angie together too.
It brought us together and I guess kept us together.
Love and sports. People do love sports. Those thrilling moments in North Carolina history. The thrills as well as the agonies. We hope you've enjoyed reliving some of them. We'll see you again next time down the road. I'm Scott Mason, the Tar Heel Traveler. Order Tar Heel Traveler books at thetarheeltraveler.com. Books that celebrate the state. Copies autographed and personalized at thetarheeltraveler.com.